Hey everyone, welcome to another video. I am Chris Runge with Runge Cars. Behind me is the RS Coupe, and today we're going to be building the gauge bezel for this car. I already have a template made up, so I'll simply trace this out onto the aluminum. Next up, I use this compass to locate precisely the center point for each of the gauges. And now it's time to cut out the aluminum gauge face. Now using a file, I'll deburr the edges. So we've transferred our face template over to the aluminum, got it cut out, and now we will take the shroud template that sits on top of the face and cut that out of aluminum. So I've got a radius put into the upper portion of this gauge bezel, and that is very nice. That's a good shape to work with, and now we'll be able to weld the two together. But before that, I am going to put some shape in this with the English wheel and with the reciprocating hammer to shrink it. We are going to shape this with the reciprocating hammer. We want to stay away from this area up here because that's where the backside of our gauges kind of hide out. We want to get a lot of shape out in this area. We will use these beautiful anvils that were sent to me by the master Roger Lund, my friend in Sweden. If you guys are looking for a good set of anvils, check him out. And what we're going to do first, you can see we have all these shrinking marks now in the material. So we'll just use the wheel to smooth this out, give it a little bit of shape, and ultimately almost plenish the material. So I'm just going with a light pressure on the wheel. Ultimately, I just kind of want to smooth this out, get the bumps out of it. All right, we'll double check our fit here, and that's looking good. So the first thing I want to do before I weld these two together, I want to drill my holes in this, because if you weld this on and then drill your holes and something goes wrong, it's not good. So we've got our hole center points marked out, and now I just want to check the measurement on our gauge. Yeah, and they're supposed to be 100 millimeters, but I always like to check. And that's what it is. All right, so I've got my caliper set to 50 millimeters, half of the actual gauge. We'll set this to the same size, and I just like to do this. I'm on the back side of the gauge face, but I like to do this just to make sure. Let's get this set here. I just like to do this to make sure that everything is going where it's supposed to go. And some of my gauges have a larger tack. These are all 100 millimeter, so the tack goes in the middle. I'm just doing a test fit of the gauges here and checking for that clearance. As I mentioned, I like to leave extra material on the top panel here. And so now I'm just going to do a quick trim on the top here, take some of that material off because it'll scale the proportions in on the overall shape of the bezel. All right, I'm going to take this and just knock the edge of it over for a couple of reasons. It strengthens this edge when I go to weld it so I don't get as much distortion, but it also rounds it and gives it a nice look when I go to weld it to the face. So now I'm going to take the face and I'm actually going to knock an edge outward on it so it recesses the face a little bit, and it just helps with a little bit of glare that you might have in the cockpit. It kind of sets those gauges back a little. All right, so I've got both pieces shaped up pretty well here. So we'll go over to the welding table and get them fixtured and start tacking these together. So what's cool about this machine is that you can fully customize your settings, or you can go with the presets. So right now I'm welding 18 gauge aluminum, so it presets to 65 amps, which is really close. I like to weld a little bit hotter than that and control it with the pedal, so I'm just going to bump it up, and there we go. So now I'm just fabricating the bottom trim piece that closes off the entire gauge face to the dash. So I've just cut a small strip here and I'm shaping this strip of aluminum to the bottom of the gauge bezel here. The final step on this is to go ahead and clean up the remaining surfaces with a polish, and then we'll fit our gauges. That wraps up this episode for Runge Cars. If you enjoy our videos, please hit the like button, and if you haven't yet, consider subscribing. It helps us to create more content like this.